Okay, very good. And so what we want to do here real quickly is just kind of give you a way to kind of evaluate the different things you're doing in terms of mission effectiveness. Now, you notice I'm kind of saying good, better, best, because we're not saying bad, worst, don't do this. What we're saying is this is good, but what's better? Because if our goal is more disciples of Jesus, then we can see more clear-headedly what each thing we're doing, how that leads to the other. And if we're not wise and aware, we can do things sometimes for decades, and good things will happen, but we'll never get to the best things happening, right? And we have a lot of churches that have dedicated a lot of decades already in trying to reach their community in certain ways that are not bad. They're very good, but they're not the best. And let's quickly go through that. So for most churches, when they start doing mission, they start doing something that is good and make a difference. Think Matthew 25 here, right? Feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, visiting the imprisoned or the homebound. These are good things. Jesus is like, these are Hall of Fame good things, right? But I also can tell you that I can introduce you to churches that for 20, 30, 40 years now have been investing heavily in doing good. They can give you a spreadsheet, and they'll tell you how many metric tons of food they've given away, how many tens of thousands of backpacks to children that needed school supplies. They can show you a map where they've built an orphanage and a medical clinic and a church and a home and a seminary all around the world, right? But then you ask me, give me the story of one person that you personally have been used by Jesus to help them receive grace and truth and start to follow Jesus themselves. And they're like, you see, that wasn't in the calculations, right? And so again, this isn't bad, this is very good. But now we need to realize that if I'm going to make disciples, I can't just make a difference. I also have to make a friend. Oops, I didn't hit that hard enough. Make a friend. In other words, relationship connects us to those persons so that the making a difference can lead to relationship where we now have conversation and they see us and want to imitate the Christ in us, right? And so that's where if we're thinking about, okay, we want to keep making a difference. Please don't be the church that stopped making a difference, especially in a small town. Well, they used to do this, right? Keep doing that. But now think about how can we make a difference in such a way that we're also putting our people in position to make relationship, right? Ongoing interactions where we get to know their name and get to know their story. Those kinds of things. And not that these aren't happening here, but we just want to be very clear-minded so that we're doing these things on purpose and consistently, right? And then, of course, making a friend can lead to make a disciple. And again, like I said, most folks want to skip the friend thing because, frankly, we don't like people. We'd rather not mess with them, right? It's easier to give them a sack of food or pat them on the head and it was great being with you and building this house, adios. And it's easier, it's cleaner, but it's less effective, right? So again, we don't stop making a difference, but now we start doing this in a way that really double invest into relationship. Because then you'll start to see the disciples happen, where they come to faith again through the Spirit's work, but through the means of your conversations, because your words and will convey the light and the salt of hope and grace and insight and wisdom. And you've known this, most of it, since you were 6, 7, 8 years old, right? We just didn't know what to do with it. We memorized it. We could write a Bible study on it. We're thankful for it. But it's like having this amazing toolbox full of tools that we don't actually know what to do with it. And now we do. Right? Now we do. We can get to know one or two people living without the grace and truth of Jesus, and there we go. Now let's start. And you'll be amazed at how you pull out this tool and this tool and this tool, and you didn't even know you knew how to do it. You know who didn't know how to do it? Yeah. And we just weren't in the place where you could go, okay, now. Well, there you go. And the good thing is this is not hard to do anymore because you live in a culture, in a society, in a town, in a neighborhood, where there are lots of people who don't know Jesus. So that it's good, but it makes it a lot easier, right? I don't have to send you to another country. Well, I do you. But I don't have to send most people to another country. All I have to do is send you home. And you'll probably be within about 50 feet of people that don't know Jesus, or don't know His grace, right? Okay, very good. Questions, comments, pushback on any of that? Yeah, I did such a great job of presenting. There's no question left unanswered. Okay. All right. Well, we'll loosen up here as we get along. Maybe a little more coffee.
How do you?
Oh no, you had your chance. It's too late. No, no, Carla, please. Oh no, Carla. Yeah, I shouldn't have messed with Carla. Oh well.
I guess my concern is making people think that they're a project.
Right.
You know, that I'm only being friends because I want them to know Jesus. I'm only being friends because I want them to come to church. I'm
Right.
making this relationship because of something.
Yeah. And so we have to be self-aware, right, that we aren't doing that. That's why we start with, I really do care about that person, right? They're not a project. They're a human being with a story, and that if they just could hear some good news about how much they are valued by God, how much Jesus has already done for them before they could do anything or even wanted to do anything for Him, to give them some of the insights, right? The seeds, and that's the thing that is actually very freeing about going, I am not Jesus, right? So you can do what I call the John the Baptist confession every morning. Go to the mirror and go, I am not the Christ. Let's all try it on the count of 3. I am not the Christ. Doesn't that make you feel better already? And so Christ has an agenda, and I can submit to that, which means I'm not in charge. I don't have a plan. I don't have a manipulative kind of way of weaving things. Nope, I'm doing this because you're my neighbor. And results, that's God's, right? I'm doing this because I'm your neighbor, and the one that loved me said love him, and I'm like, okay, he's a pain in the patoot, but all right then, right? And so that's where we need to go, nope, I'm not doing this for a reason. I'm doing this, well, there's a reason, but not for an outcome that, I have in mind. I'm doing this because this is what God wants me to do. I was talking with somebody last night, and, they're not sure. They've been trying to do this, and they're not sure there's been any effect, right? And I'm like, oh, I got good news for you. Those seeds, while you may not have heard the story yet, and while they might not even realize they have had seeds sprout in their life yet, I'm letting you know that you can have conversations with people 5, 6, 7, 10, 20. I've had them with people 40 years after the fact, where all of a sudden things start to click. And now the story is very different. Which is to say what? Well, if you want to see a seed sprout in 40 years, you better get in the ground today. Right? I was up actually Northwest District several years ago. Maybe Pastor, because you were in the Northwest District too, right? Yeah. So maybe this was during your time there. But I was at an LWML convention, and I got all kinds of little homemade things, and it was fun. But the most fun thing that happened was a woman came up to me and introduced herself, and she asked if I was related to so-and-so Finke, because she had grown up in the Bay Area of San Francisco, and there had been a couple next door to their home named the Finkes that went all the way through junior high had taken her to church with them. And then her parents, when she finished up junior high, moved up into Oregon, and this woman was now in her 70s, at least. And she said, they never knew. But the seeds that were planted when I was in junior high led me to become a follower of Jesus, and blah, 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 right? And how many years later was that, right? So my daughter just graduated from the University of Texas in Austin, and has been doing a lot of work with international students. And she's very excited about that. But what she has been really moved by is that in the last 6 months, she's gotten phone calls, well, not phone calls like you and I would have them, like texting and blah, 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 from 3 different friends in high school that she had spiritual conversations with but thought they had gone nowhere. And all 3 of them over the last 6 months called to thank her for those conversations, and that I'm about to get emotional, wanted her to know they were being baptized. And and these were people, they were all in different points now, right? So that I'm just letting you know, sometimes you plant seeds and you don't get to see the sprouts.